Nova Scotia's EMO asked to use the hall as a registration center for residents of Portapic who had fled their homes.
For residents of Portapic who had fled their homes.
An RCMP officer was posted here in a cruiser. By this time, police were on the hunt for the shooter who was impersonating a police officer. At 10:30 a.m., two RCMP officers fired multiple shots outside the hall. Sources have told CTV News the officers thought they were firing at the suspect, when it was in fact a fellow Mountie.
When it was in fact a Mountie.
This program is brought to you in part by...
Why don't you get yourself some turned down collars? How much more the thinking.
The thing, Hastings? Do you think Poirot consults himself with mere thingness?
No, I...
The turned down collar is the symptom of decay, of the great cells.
People keep pushing. I will thank enough. All of the hard work. There's three fellow YouTubers who are working very hard on this. Rage in the Cage, LTT, and my students have talked about them, sorry, but they are fantastic guys, really did busting their here. And stepping up to the plate. There's a certain amount of saying certain things, and also likewise, all of the people are volunteering information and time. Like I said, on the Discord, or sending me anonymous information. It is fantastic.
Evening. Okay, so I don't know if I've got my stuff quite organized, but we'll see. Hope everybody's doing well. Of course, I sleep at strange hours, and now I'm broadcasting. Most inappropriate time of all for the East Coast. But, whatever. It's a Friday night. Like everybody wants to celebrate more funness. Hey, Truth, man, how's it going? All right, so yesterday we went through some of Mike Frizzell's story. What I'm trying to do here is, hi, oh dear, awesome to see you. Sister C, what I'm trying to demonstrate here is the level of corruption within the RCMP. I'm trying to identify with those members that live within a culture of fear, because I need you to understand that Canadians are very much behind you. And you can speak up and people will support you. And that's who I'm trying to reach. I'm not sure if that makes sense. Frenchtons. Hopefully, kids. Okay, hi, kids. Hopefully that makes sense. I really am trying to reach those people because they can help us a great deal, and we can help them, and we should help them. Now, let's start here. I think I'm going to try and go chronological order here. Wait. Don't do that. Not yet. Where do I want to go? My computer wasn't happy, so I had to shut it down again. Shut it down. And, of course, I had things kind of organized, but then now, no. It's not the way it always goes. Well, for me, anyway. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, now can I open this? Just open with, I don't know. How was the trip? Somebody liked the trip. Okay. All kinds of good fishing out there. That's good. Yeah. Is that interfering? There's some people outside talking. This is not the most ideal way to view it, but we'll try it. RCMP whistleblowers honored in private. Okay, 2007. 5 whistleblowers who jeopardized their careers trying to force the RCMP to investigate allegations of internal corruption, nepotism, mismanagement were quietly awarded the force's highest honor in a closed ceremony this week. Gathered with their families around a horseshoe table in an upscale Ottawa steakhouse Wednesday, the cadre assembled for what they thought was a simple recognition dinner and a rare private audience with RCMP Acting Commissioner Bev Boosin. But for dessert, Commissioner Boosin dished out a surprise. She presented retired Staff Sergeant Ron Lewis, Chief Superintendent Fraser McCauley, Staff Sergeant Mike Frizzell, Staff Sergeant Steve Walker, and a civilian servant, Denise Ravine, each with the force's most coveted award, the Commissioner's Commendation for Outstanding Service. Last year, the medal, stop outside, which can be bestowed upon members and civilians, was given to only 19 individuals across the 26,000 member force. The most recent recipients, who have affectionately dubbed themselves the G5, have become well known among Mountie ranks and political circles in recent months for their key roles in exposing years of wrongdoing, mismanagement related to RCMP pension and insurance funds. The details of their efforts, which were met at various stages with extreme resistance and at times punishment, have trickled out during testimony at parliamentary committee probing the issues. In front of that committee, each member of the group testified to having endured life-altering amounts of strain and stress while trying to force a proper investigation. Mr. Lewis, a former staff relations representative who is now retired, said the award was vindication. He said the commissioner told the group, quote, she was proud that it was the members of the RCMP who were the ones who uncovered the scandal and stuck to the mission and vision and values of the RCMP. I hope those of you around have watched yesterday's video, because yesterday's video leads into this. The commissioner would not comment yesterday on the awards. A spokesman, not comment. A spokesman for the RCMP said only a more public ceremony will be held later. Mrs. Ravine, the human resources employee who first uncovered the improper spending and subsequently was told that her job had been eliminated, said the award came as a shock. Quote, 6 months ago, I would have never believed in 100 years that we would be here now, she said. Quote, I would have thought it would reach a point where the organization would embrace this as much as they have. Still others said the award cannot erase the sting of poor treatment. So this lady gets fired. Okay? All right, moving along. Now she gets an award. But why, right? Because they were exposed lying in Parliament? Staff Sergeant Frizzell, who was removed from the pension probe after he started asking questions about what the senior Mountie knew, said that if Commissioner Boosin hadn't been the person issuing the medals, the award would have been difficult to accept. It was night and day between the way she conducted herself in this and the way the previous commissioner did. I accepted this from her. I didn't really accept it from the RCMP. Sounds like he's a bit disgruntled. Staff Sergeant Walker, an investigation was also yanked off the probe, said he'll, quote, never look at the organization in the same light, end quote. But he conceded that Wednesday's dinner was restorative. Quote, I do not need a certificate or a piece of metal to tell me I did the right thing, end quote. He said, quote, but I highly appreciate the fact that Commissioner Boosin recognized it, took an awful lot out of the 5 people involved to do what they did, he said. Quote, it will, in all probability, change the course of our organization. Chief Superintendent Macaulay, the highest Mountie in the group whistleblowers, said the medal is the, quote, beginning of the healing process. Why are you guys worried about the pillow? Quote, it was all about the perseverance. We didn't give up, he said. And at the end of the day, the truth started to come out. Okay. Okay, so there we go. Sounds good, right? You tell the truth, you have to bust them, you get taken off of investigations, investigating the pension mismanagement, not just mismanagement, which was fraud, criminal fraud going on at the white shirt level, right? And officers were doing the right thing. The civilian was doing the right thing as well and investigating it, but no, they had to shut that down 3 days before the report was going to be filed because it would have looked into commissioners, which would have been a very serious problem. So, shut that down, Inspector Waugh, who doesn't want to say anything about it. Okay, so you get an award. Sounds like you're on the mend, right? Let's see if it continues. Top Mountie suspended. More allegations emerge. The RCMP has suspended a senior Mountie in charge of human resources as details emerge about alleged fraud in the force's pension system. Deputy Commissioner Barb George had earlier resigned, and her deputy commissioner, right? We're getting up the ranks now. Those white shirts are getting ever so starchier. Had resigned, and her job performance is now under a code of conduct review, according to an internal memo. George could not be reached for comment Friday. What news? But in February, in front of a parliamentary committee, she was asked about the removal of investigators in the case, including Staff Sergeant Mike Frizzell. Quote, it was neither the, quote, former RCMP commissioner, so now we're at the starchiest of starch, Giuliano Zaccaraldi, nor me, who had anything to do whatsoever with the removal of Sergeant Frizzell, said George. She testified that Frizzell left for health reasons. I believe I read this actually yesterday, but we'll just do it again. Meanwhile, fellow investigator RCMP Superintendent Fraser Macaulay was sent to the Department of Defense for 2 years. But George called that a simple coincidence. On Wednesday, Macaulay suggested otherwise when he testified before the Commons Public Accounts Committee. Well, we had a lengthy conversation about the issues again, and she explained to me how naive I had to think anyone was going to stand beside me in this type of situation and tell the truth, he said. Macaulay also alleged, quote, for the past few years, the RCMP has had a small group of managers who, through their actions and inactions, are responsible for serious breaches of our core values, the RCMP of Code of Conduct, and even the Criminal Code. Ron Lewis, a retired RCMP staff sergeant, spoke of a culture created by several senior executives, quote, where it was danger for employees to report wrongdoings or to do the right thing, right? Sound familiar? This is an older story, and one of many that I'm going to start going through. But I assure you, this continues to this very day. Quote, while trying to expose these wrongdoings, which were both criminal and code of conduct violations, I had to face meetings and complaints up to and including Commissioner Zaccaraldi. The top cop wants to sabotage it all. Quote, I was met with inaction delays, roadblocks, obstruction, and lies. The person who orchestrated most of the cover-up was Commissioner Zaccaraldi. This is in front of Parliament, I believe. Zaccaraldi has denied the allegations. He resigned as RCMP commissioner in December after delivering contradictory testimony to another Commons committee about the Mayor-Harar affair. Public Safety Minister Stockwell Day has announced an independent investigation. Well, we don't need to worry about this because that's just all a bunch of smoke and mirrors. CTV has learned the allegations include the following. Of 65 people who worked in the pension division, 49 were related to senior RCMP members, and in some cases, the nepotism involved entire families. On this note, I'm going to say, RCMP, you really suck balls. RCMP Graves' website now, the search function, has been disabled. It doesn't work. I mentioned that site on a stream a few days ago. I gave it out, in fact, in the stream, and now it doesn't work. Because it's very interesting when you start searching family relations. Because the problem is, I understand, let's say one family member does the right thing. Do you think that the other ones also have to start paying for it? This is the culture of fear, the mob mentality. They don't want people to know that other people are related now. You suck balls. Senior RCMP members use pension funds for golfing trips to destinations like St. Andrews Bay by the Sea, New Brunswick. Awesome. If you get that white shirt, you're in business. In one email exchange, resort employees at St. Andrews by the Sea explained an unusual billing structure. Quote, the purpose of this is to hide the golf rates in the room rates and to expense the golf. Oh, we're just staying at that hotel room. Don't worry about any of that. We're not doing anything there. Oh, because we don't have to pay for the golfing. It's just built in. You see? This is major fraud. Critics have called of you. Your wallet's getting ripped off. And there were good cops who stood up. But let's see what happens. They got the award, right? They did the right thing. Critics have called for a full judicial inquiry, but Day has countered that would take too long. We want answers now. We want answers immediately, he said. I'm seriously concerned about the information that was presented yesterday in the Public Accounts Committee. Nevertheless, Friday, Liberal leader Stéphane Dion continued to call for a judicial inquiry. Do you see how this is? It's always just whatever. The other side says, oh, you didn't do it. They get in power. And then the other side says, you didn't do it. It's just a game. Smoke and mirrors. Yeah. Theater. It's all theater. The Conservatives want an investigator who is accountable only to the cabinet so that they can control the process. See how I say that it's not just the Liberals? Anybody who thinks this is a left-right paradigm? No, all the same. For a political gain, Dion said. But what is needed? A full public inquiry that is transparent and free to get to the bottom of the issue. This word transparent, frankly, makes me want to vomit. I hear it all the time. Do you know how transparent things are? About as much as a shower door. And they have been for decades and decades and decades. And people still continue to die. We all get ripped off. And we have some very, very, very criminal employees working for us. No, that includes the government, right? But not to take it too big of a level, Macaulay hopes the controversial allegations won't tarnish the reputation of RCMP members. Good RCMP members pay the cost of the shitbags. Nice. I like to work in that organization. I like to work in a culture of fear. It's pretty awesome. Well, we have 24,000 plus employees that are providing great service and safety to this country, and it's a great organization. This is a small blip. How many small blips do you think there are? How many do you think there are? Since when does your employees constantly spy on you? Constantly spy on you in your bedroom, in your private messages, in your everything. Do you spy on your boss in his bedroom? And what everything that he does and everybody he knows and all of his friends, do they have drones? No, you don't do that. The key is for me that we stay steadfast and get to the bottom of it and then move forward. I think it's just more like this. Move forward. We'll be a better organization, hopefully down the road. Yeah, someday. Maybe. I'll promise you. Nothing. But at the end of the day, this is just a very painful couple of days. Don't worry about it. You're only getting ripped off by a criminal mob. And all those people who do the right thing get terrified. The complaints about mismanagement of the pension fund go back to May 2003, when the RCMP launched its own investigations. The scandal then grabbed public attention following a report by the Auditor General's office. See, because you're always going to have a few good people who will say something. They have to give you something. Otherwise, you know it's all bad. In her November 2006 report, now we're in 3 years of their investigating. 3 years. 3 years. Again, this is demonstrative of what's going on in Nova Scotia. It very much relates. Maybe it takes a little bit to understand, but this is the culture that these people live in. The culture. And I want to say, we're here to support you so you don't have that culture anymore. Because frankly, I want them out. In jail. I want all my money back, frankly, too. Wrote about fraud and abuse allegations in the management of the RCMP's insurance plan stemming from 2003. In June 2005, Ottawa Police Services announced that its 15-month investigation had found abuses of the pension insurance plan, nepotism, wasteful spending, and override controls by management. That was Inspector Roy, whatever, right? The one who yanked Mike FRIZZELL off the case. That's who that was. Before he could file his completed report, because it was looking into the commissioners. In June 2005, no criminal charges have ever been laid in this matter. Sounds like that's probably going to happen with Griffin, the plant stories, and all of this nonsense. Nobody's going to get charged. Doop. Okay. So he got awards, though, right? Right. High cost of whistleblowing. Ottawa, was it worth it? The years of RCMP foot-dragging, denials, career reprisals, 3 months of embarrassing parliamentary hearings, and finally a damning report on RCMP's mismanagement. For the 5 RCMP employees who triggered it all, it's a loaded question. Outgoing RCMP Commissioner Bev Boosin formally commended these 5 people with Commissioner's commendations, the force's top honor in an intimate gathering. I like how the Globe referred to it as a private, can't tell anybody thing. It's like USS Liberty. With the 5 whistleblowers, investigators, and their families in Ottawa this week. It was their perseverance in tracking misdeeds in the forces of the pension fund that revealed a quote, horribly broken. Nice way to call it crime. Management culture out of step with the RCMP's own values of honesty and accountability, a special investigator concluded. You see, that's a misnomer. That's called bullshit. They tell you they have honesty. They tell you they have transparency. They tell you that they're accountable, but they have nothing. In fact, they're the opposite. So when they say those terms, you have to be able to identify that, hey, Steve, how's it going? You have to be able to identify, play the opposite game. They say transparency, you say bullshit. They say accountability, you say fraud. They say honesty, you say liar. This is the thing that you have to do. Lawyer David Brown, who examined more than 400,000 documents in his inquiry, nice waste of paper, thank you, recommended a complete overhaul. When was that done? Of top management and RCMP culture in his report. When was this done again? This one was 2007. I think this was the one that they had 17 recommendations. Do you know how many have been implemented since then? A zero. A zip. Do you think they care? They laugh at you. That gang at the top. Right? Who gang oversees them also laugh at you. It's all just, and the gang above that just laugh at you too. You're all stooges. Brown outlined the cost of the whistleblowers. People who speak out often pay a significant personal price in terms of their peace of mind, professional, social, and family relationships, and their confidence in the future. Family relationships. Do you know why? Because most of them have members of their family that also serve in the RCMP. Thanks for removing the search button. But everybody will hear about it, so it's fine. You just look like shit. You keep stepping in it more and more. So, asked public servant Denise Ravine, RCMP Chief Superintendent Fraser McCauley, and Staff Sergeants Mike Frizzell, Ron Lewis, retired. Poor Ron had to get out. And, oh, yes, that's right. Where's this other lady? Ms. Ravine. Your job is eliminated. Now, this is how you do it. And Steve Walker, how they feel now. Was it all worth it? For each, in separate interviews, pauses long and hard. Here are the answers. Okay, good. Denise Ravine, quote, if I had to do it again, geez, that's tough. She sighs on the phone. I don't know. Let's be honest. If you knew you were going to give up 4 years, her voice trails off. After years of putting her family off, Ravine, 54, can't do an interview this day at her home. A family matter has come up, but then the mother of 4 begins to talk and talk. More than 2 hours later, what's striking is how her daughters reacted. They felt consumed by her job. One told her flatly, "You weren't there for me." Ravine stood in the group of five who went public with their charges against the force, a woman among men, a public servant among police officers. For 33 years, she had worked for the RCMP, didn't switch around departments. She liked what the Mountie stood for. Remember they played the opposite game? Integrity, safety. Though she had not internalized its paramilitary, hierarchical culture. It's not a police force. Paramilitary. Much, much more. She was a director in the RCMP's Human Resources Division in spring 2003. She was assigned to an extensive budget review and discovered how senior RCMP officials were misspending millions of dollars, members' pension funds, and it later turned out insurance funds. Pension fraud, insurance fraud. Oh, lots of white-collar crime going on with the white shirts. Lots of crime, period. Ravine and her supervisor, Chief Superintendent Fraser McCauley, who took up her concerns, were sent packing as a result. This is what you do. Get rid of them. Tell the truth. We need to continue our crime spree. In February 2004, her job was budget cuts. A boss explained, humiliating her in public. The report by a special investigation, David Brown, concluded. Humiliating. This is a good one. This is a real good one. They like to do that. Humiliate people. Today, she's coping with what doctors tell her is post-traumatic stress disorder. Oh, that's a surprise. That's a surprise. You drive people mental. You know how much the mental rate is on discharges with the RCMP? I believe it's 30%. What job do you know that has a 30% discharge rate for mental illness? That's spooky. And that's the ones that are discharged. Obviously, they're getting hurried out the door because they're doing the right thing, many of them. But that would also mean that there's a lot of people probably in there that may be having some mental problems. You following what I'm saying? Like running around incompetent. The kind of long-term emotional distress soldiers endure after returning home for battle. Last fall, she finally initiated mediation talks with her employer after Federal Auditor General's report. For her, after all, it's a question of accountability. Oh, so she does the right thing. It consumes her. It costs her. She has mental stress and anguish, but she's still trying to do the right thing. And they fire her. She would like to see closure through a last round of parliamentary hearings that would identify all those who abused the system. You think that happened? Like those recommendations? Family members all working together? Do you think they're still around? Chief Superintendent Fraser McCauley. If Canadians recognize any one of the five from the hearings, it might be Fraser McCauley. Silver hair cropped close, McCauley is one punted from the RCMP Department of to the Department of National Defense for coming forward. Well, he got another job. Then RCMP Commissioner Giuliano Zaccaraldi told the whole country at Commons Committee that McCauley hadn't come forward soon enough, that it wasn't a punishment transfer, but for McCauley's own good, so he could learn from his mistake. Oh my God. Are you serious? This man stands up, does the right thing, and you're like, oh, you made the mistake. You got to go. Sorry, think, frankly, the fact that he was such a high rank and a white shirt himself, he got to go over to another job. Who knows? I don't know where he is today. That would be interesting to find out. But perhaps somebody wants to search that out and drop it in the chat. I do apologize. I'm not reading your chat as we're going through here. But I only have one set of eyes. The RCMP, so learn from his mistake that he hadn't done it soon enough. You know, while they're bilking the system, bilking you and I. Do you see the irony in that? It's your fault that we were bilking. Sorry about that. Macaulay, a deep red flush creeping up his neck, couldn't believe what he was hearing. With 27 years of service behind him, he struggles even now to understand why the pension investigation went off the rails, given the former chief's legendary passion for the RCMP and public service. Another good guy. Don't talk about passion. There's nobody who had more of it than Zacharaldi, Macaulay said. Do remember? White shirt. About another white shirt. I'm not passing judgment. It's just observations. Hello, Churro. The corrosive effect of facing his boss's wrath and colleagues' doubts began to take his toll on his health, personal relationships, and on his core belief in the organization. It will affect him for the rest of his life, he says. Pretty awesome. You know, those awesome core values. The RCPF, hurting people. That's pretty awesome. Hurting our employees. Our employees are hurting each other. Pretty great. And we pay them to do this while they rip us off. And they strike fear into the hearts of other family members. Quote, "You can't put it back the way it was. I put this organization ahead of my wife, and family, a whole bunch of other things. But when it happens, it disrupts who you are. You just can't go back." I have heard this. Frankly, some shocking things I'm coming to learn about the RCMP. Things like, if you get out of the RCMP and you don't have golf and your RCMP drinking friends, you basically will live about 18 months. That's why there are so many that it's called re-up, and they re-enlist again, because they become so institutionalized. You know, like prisoners get institutionalized, RCMP members do. It's that culty. Okay? Now, I have no problem with that. I do have a problem with the institutionalization, that it consumes your mind ahead of your wife and family. I don't want my employee having that. No. I want them to be happy and have a good mental state so they can come and do a great job representing Canada and themselves. He squirms at the thought of a public ceremony to mark the commendation. It's very complicated. Personally, slide it under the door. That's who I am. Any commendation won't matter a whit, he says, unless my wife is there. They do not have kids, but it was hard for her to understand why he didn't just quit and walk away. He couldn't. And here he says, it's hard for people to understand unless you're a Mountie. It's not a job, it's a life. I'm not kidding with you when I say that. Institutionalized. People die, literally, of not being in there. They don't understand that. Prisoners who come out of prison and they have to go back because they can't live in the real world. This is how far this organization has gone off the rails. Macaulay dreads the spotlight and never sought recognition. We did it fundamentally because it was the right thing to do. Staff Sergeant Mike Frizzell. Mike Frizzell is a rather shy man who shocked the committee with a tape recording of his calm call to an RCMP manager who accused him of shouting and harassing employees in interviews. Remember when I was reading this? And then they discovered that it was probably concocted, as in invented, fabricated evidence. Fabricated evidence by a police force investigating itself so that they can get rid of the investigation. This is fucked, man. This is fucked. Hello, Point Fire. Good evening, or morning. So he was calm and shouting. That was Wah in this awesome report, who then didn't want to say anything about it. Frizzell was yanked off the Ottawa police probe of the pension misspending when he asked tough questions about the role of senior RCMP members, including the Deputy Commissioner Barbara George. His laptop was wiped, and backup copies of data went missing from his desk. This should be enraging you. Because it certainly enrages me to the core. How can we have officers operating in a good system when their own system is evil? Yeah, it's just like Frank. Anybody who asks the tough questions, oh, you can't come any longer, says Derp. What is her name? Derp. Anybody see the letter that was sent to Frank Magazine? And that's not the only one, by the way. You are no longer welcome. You cannot ask questions. What did he ask? Why do we need an investigation? Can't you just tell us details? No, sorry. Now you have to go home. You have to push the narrative. The narrative we need. Missing. They were deleting data, fabricating evidence, lying in Parliament. Ooh, much more corrupt can you possibly be? George publicly challenged his competency and professionalism. Here we go. Question his mental condition. You're crazy. Because we wipe your laptop. We accuse you of false crimes. And all of a sudden, the assistant commissioner is going to say, you're crazy. After a special report into the pension affair recognized his efforts, he jokes, quote, now my mom can go to her card game. And he said that's what that he did what was right, and say that what he did was right. That's nice. This is how badly you get destroyed. Probably because I'm hazarding to guess, but that his mom associates with other RCMP moms, because they do. They absolutely 100% do. There's moms and widows and different groups that, so this is, it all gets, you don't necessarily even have to have a number and be in there. You're part of the culture once you marry into it. I'm going to read this book. I'm just going to grab it. My grandmother gave this to me when I was a boy because one of her best friends, Spud and Flo Harrington, were an RCMP couple. And he wrote this book. When I knew him, he'd already mostly had Alzheimer's and lost his mind and was hospitalized. But she talks all about living in the Arctic and being a Mountie and a Mountie's wife. And, I haven't read it in so long. It's probably not something that you can go and find regularly. It's way off the market, but that's what it is. It's there's us and them. And it isn't an us and them because there are many of them that love us and want to work with us and do the right thing, but can't because of the fear. After a special report into the pension affair recognized his efforts. FRIZZELL, 41, grew up in Picton, Ontario, and dreamed of a career in the RCMP. He had joined the Mounties in 1990, the father of two boys aged 12 and 10 and a girl 7. He is, like many in the force, married to another RCMP member. I've heard some very interesting stories about people who don't end up getting married. But I'm not putting on tinfoil hats. Something about they're encouraged to marry other members. For 3 months, he juggled his day job, providing strategic and operational support for investigators cracking child pornography rings at the National Child Exploitation Child Center. Quote, as if that doesn't take enough of its toll, that would be a pretty wretched job to work within. And public hearings where his credibility was questioned. Well, he was lied about, slandered, lawsuit. I don't know. Brown's recommendations was, quote, important to me personally, he admits, but adds, quote, it would have meant far more to me had my own organization looked into this and come to the same conclusion. This is basically vindication from a stranger who in, 6 weeks, was able to figure it all out. Years. What were that, 3 years at that point? Oh, we're investigating, we're looking into its ongoing investigation. Sound familiar? It's a pattern. An outsider, a stranger. That was the lawyer, Brown. Okay? And it is kind of that us and them thing. I'm not calling them down. I'm really not. I want to work together with them. While it was excruciating for all of us, especially those of us in the spotlight, it has also been cleansing. I think there's an awful lot of us who are very cautiously optimistic that this will be a turning point, a positive one. You got the words, right? Staff Sergeant Walker, an investigator from Winnipeg, Steve Walker, admits his faith in the RCMP was shaken by the whole affair, but interim Commissioner Bev Boosin has gone a long way to restore that faith. And I can't say anything about Bev Boosin. I personally don't know enough about her, but I'm going to study on her. Once Boosin suspected she had been deceived about the extent of the senior bungling in the pension fund, she leapt in. Again, I have to read and find out. She posted Hansard's transcripts of every Commons Committee hearing into the scandal on the RCMP's internal website for all members to read. That does sound pretty good. She suspended Deputy Commissioner Barbara George. That's pretty good. And relieved Paul Gavin of his duties as Chief Financial Officer, Chief Financial Scammer, Chief Financial Defrauder. Bev Boosin isn't hiding any of this, said Walker. For him, that made all the difference. Like Frizzell, the 47-year-old Newfoundlander was a Mountie seconded to support the Ottawa police investigation team. 8 months later, midway through the probe, as he returned to Winnipeg, Walker knew they were onto something and feared the worst. Pretty terrible to learn this about your own people. Your own people, right? Not the strangers. Your people. Quote, it was a pressure cooker when I was doing the investigation because of the secrecy. The transparency? Do you see it? The secrecy? Transparency. Or is it secrecy? Yeah, that's the word. Secrecy involved, and it became increasingly difficult when I personally felt the wrong thing was done and people were not going to be held accountable. Not going to be. The crimes must go on. Though officially off the investigation, you get booted off when you start asking, right? Frank, anybody? Mike, Frizzell, you get fired. Walker stayed involved from a distance, talking to colleagues, helping investigators. That's a hero. I'm still going to keep doing it. Asked about whether it was all worth it, he issues a cautionary answers, then reframes his thoughts. Unequivocally, the answer is yes. To quote my dad, the right thing will always be the right thing. His dad had a lot of wisdom. If we can help make positive change in this organization, it will be worth it in the long run. That's how many recommendations got followed through with. Zero. But you can hope, can't you? Because you have to hope. Staff Sergeant Ron Lewis. Lewis is the hardest one to get a read on. He was the most vocal RCMP representative throughout the hearings. He was the one who accused Zacharaldi of lying and orchestrating a cover-up. Sound like Nova Scotia? Pattern. Now, 4 years later, Lewis quips that the whole thing has badly cut into his golf game. They love to golf. They really do. They love to golf. I don't know. It's something. The sense of humor and detachment, the others say, made him the perfect one to keep pressing in the case to Zacharaldi, George, Gavin, and others. As staff relations rep, he had a more protected standing under the RCMP Code of Conduct. If things turned south, they couldn't touch him, said Walker. In spring 2003, Lewis first got wind of the rumors about nepotism, because nobody's related there, right? And misspending in the pension division, and delayed his retirement by 7 months. in the pursuit of accountability. Awesome. Lewis, a former undercover drug officer who spent years in small Newfoundland detachments and who knows the art of prosecutions, meticulously laid a paper trail. Like, God could do that because, well, hard drives, backups get deleted, evidence gets manufactured, RCMP grave websites go down. Paper trail of notes, of conversations with senior managers, emails, responses, and reports. So we have somebody who's recording, somebody who's keeping a paper trail. It doesn't sound like they're worried at all. He pushed for criminal investigations, audits, and action. When action didn't seem likely, he went to MPs and the media. Today, he still says there was a cover-up, not mistakes in judgment on Zach Rowley's part, as Brown says. This fucking mistake stuff, why are we buying this? Oh, it's a mistake. We just missed him. Oh, he drove out that way. Oh, we didn't, blah, blah, blah. Oh, the report is lost. We destroyed it 2 years ago. Yeah. Watch how much is... Okay, yeah, I can't talk about that. Watch. Prediction. Karnak moment. Karnak. Yeah, I keep notes on things. Karnak. Very good Karnak. How much stuff do you think is as we speak? Lots. Let's go to the next one. RCMP Deputy Commissioner won't face penalties for contempt citation. Contempt citation. She lied. The House of Commons voted unanimously Thursday. Oh, if they're going to all vote on it, you know it's bad. Even the fraud of our government is going to say this is a fraud. Unanimously Thursday to find RCMP Deputy Commissioner Barbara George in contempt for her testimony she gave before a parliamentary probe into Mounties pensions and insurance funds. She becomes one of a handful of Canadians to face such stern and highly unusual censure. Remember how they said can lie anywhere? Remember that? It's in their book. Even to our fraud of a government, they can lie. No problem. But many say now that MPs have flexed their muscles. The rarely used sanction, all Canadians will be on notice to tell the truth. While we have a police service who constantly lies for decades. How many people, hey Tracy, how many people have died? Start thinking about it. Picking keeps coming up. Oh, there's a lot of them. When testifying, Marathorpe, Moncton. It's coming at them from all angles. It's coming at us from all angles. When testifying at committees or else, the relationship between bureaucrats and MPs has been a long, rocky one. What relations took a nosedive after the Rudowski's affair and the sponsorship scandal, both cases in which MPs on parliamentary committees fumed over high-ranking bureaucrats who misled them or failed to tell the whole story. See, this is a pattern. It exists in every facet of our life, from garbage. Not just RCMP garbage. That's how you get rewarded. That's how you get to the top. You lie. You cheat, you steal. Quote, I think they wanted to make an example here, said Thomas Hall, a former procedural clerk of the House of Commons. MPs felt lied to during the sponsorship scandal, and they really didn't have anything to do about it, so they might have built a low tolerance about being misled. Wow, the liars have a problem with liars. That's pretty bad. The decision is unprecedented for Mounties, and RCMP Commissioner William Elliott is considering the finding before deciding if any action is warranted. What are they saying right now about Griffin? Oh, that's right. They're contemplating charges. Here. Oh, the Griffin stuff. Wow, they've got it all sewed up, they think, don't they? One might want to look at that report or that document closely. Just saying. Ms. George was suspended over the pension fiasco and later reinstated. Sound like Onslow? Don't worry, you can go back to work. It's okay you open fire on people, terrified survivor for a second time. That's awesome. But you go back to work. She went back to work in December as a special advisor to Mr. Elliott, but has been on leave, paid, for several weeks. Paid. She wouldn't comment on the finding, but her husband, Tom Mabey, a former Mountie and CSIS agent. Surprise, surprise. Said his wife's ordeal should be an eye-opener for all Canadians because they have no rights and due process when testifying at committees that see themselves as judge, jury, and prosecution. So if you're found lying, it should be an eye-opener to Canadians because liars don't have rights. This is just getting more abhorrent. This is worse than reading kids' stuff. The lying just keeps going. And, he's married to another Mountie. She's married to another Mountie. Surprise. And CSIS. Because they do work very hand in hand. But they just do Seamus. What are you talking about? Gravel road cops. All they do is radar. Right? Right? How many of them do you think are actually cruising around in a car by themselves with the fuck it and drive on policy? Versus the ones in intelligence and in CSIS. Because they go back and forth. Lots of them. Ottawa. Quote, something of this magnitude to find someone in contempt for the first time in 95 years. In the past 95 years, in 3 minutes, rammed through with no debate and hardly anyone in the House, is unconscionable. Perhaps that's because there was a lot of evidence unanimously in 3 minutes. How much evidence do you think there possibly could have been? But don't worry, she'll go back to work. Quote, she's been up there with Louis Riel. She's been taken out and hung. They don't have the balls to put her in jail or fine her because they think it would be going too far and they would be scrutinized. They are cowards. Frankly, I think they're probably afraid, even if they were good and not compromised. Because you throw her in jail, She got a lot of family that's gonna fuck you up, Royal. Right? Just like they do to their own members. How interesting. That's why things don't happen. The finding caps more than a year of tangled and contradictory evidence. MPs on the Commons public accounts, your money, my money, sorted through the probes of mismanagement of the RCMP pension and insurance funds. So they're ripping off their own people, going golfing, and millions of dollars. I'd like to actually see the report on how much it was, because there are not a lot of white shirts sitting up in that boat. They get a lot of money. Campbell lives in a really nice house. Just saying. Oh, he's married to RCMP times 2. The one that he threw under the bus, the Picton, Galford, married to her. Then he goes on to Piper. Now they own a $680,000 house. Yeah. Works kind of well. And he got promoted twice in 2 years. Wouldn't have anything to do with the insider garbage that he had. You know, like the thing about you can't testify against your husband and wife stuff. You don't think that that was used and traumatized Ms. Galford because she was going to do the right thing, speak out against rape, stand up for her self, yay, win, and for other RCMP officers, and say, what the hell were you doing for 3 years over here with the Picton? I'm going to testify against you. Oh, no, we can't have that. She's got to be crazy. Campbell. Oh, yeah, I can give you all kinds of stuff. Don't worry. I'm married to her. I was married to her. Don't worry about it. I can give you all kinds of stuff. And now, but you give me those promos, right? Yeah, no problem. Okay, good. Janice Gray. Yeah. I'll do that too. I will besmirch her and slander her in public with our own account, my official account. But you're going to give me those promos, right? Yeah. Okay, then I'll do that. Fuck. In February, the committee wrote a unanimous report. Everybody, even the scum, says she's scum. That's pretty bad. Condemning Miss George for misleading MPs in her testimony and recommended that she be cited for contempt. You go lie in court, see what happens to you. So, you know what that says? Nothing happens. Well, don't worry about it. You lie all the time. It's okay. What is this example that they set for members in their force? What is this example that they set for children? Look up to that Mountie. He's so nice. He's got the Stetson on. He has the moral compass. Meanwhile, the guy is shitting in his pants because he doesn't know who's going to turn on him, who's going to do what, unless he toes the line. Remember? Is that at the end of the road? How much of that stuff going on in Nova Scotia do you think that they know is bullshit and they participate in? Just because they're so afraid. Oh, and the people who went in, I suspect they are not doing well. Probably scrubbing toilets. Mentally ill. Boop. And then you get zip. Miss George was the only Mountie suspended in the fallout of the pension probe, although she had nothing to do with the mismanagement of the pension fund. Her high-profile suspension made her the public face of the scandal that rocked the force. You got bad employees. But she most certainly was, because she put pressure on everybody. Get rid of this investigation. Get rid of it now. She found herself the center of the furor over conflicting testimony about how and why RCMP Staff Sergeant Mike Frizzell was pulled off of the Ottawa police in criminal investigation into the pension fiasco shortly before it was shut down. How? 3 days before he was going to file his final report, I believe. It's kind of like just before Galliford was going to testify. Oh, gone, can't. This is interesting how this works. Just, you can get rid of them at the very last minute. The very last minute. Ms. George testified with, quote, absolute finality that she had nothing to do, nothing to do with Staff Sergeant Frizzell's removal. The committee heard from other witnesses who said she did. Because there were people who actually spoke up and did the right thing and told the truth. In the end, the committee concluded it was unclear whether she was removed or whether he was removed. Contempt. They weren't too confused about that one. That would mean that she's lying. But Conservative MP John Williams says the case against Miss George was straightforward. She insisted with such, quote, finality that she and that the RCMP commissioner, the big guy, the big white shirt, Giuliano Zaccaraldi, had nothing to do with the removal of Staff Sergeant Frizzell from the Ottawa police investigation into the pension problems. Wow. She made it clear, categorically, unqualified and definitive statement that she was not involved, and then her own emails and calls condemned her. I guess that shredder, the one that they've got going, about like Truro and intelligence, the one that they got going in New Brunswick, the one I'm talking about. It wasn't working that day. Too bad. Too bad that there's people who tell the truth. If you think you can mislead a parliamentary committee and there shall be no punishment for accountability, then it's about time Parliament did something about it. This coming from the liars. Talking about lying. You know why that is? Because if they don't do anything, then there's going to be people who start revolting. But it's okay. Everybody gets golden parachutes and goes into private service or just gets hired back as a contract worker in a bureaucratic capacity. Lots of these people do. So don't worry. You just move over here. It's fine. But, it looks optics. Looks good. Optics. Like the surveillance photos. Optics. Everything's optics. Enfield. Optics. Burned out car. 200. Optics. All optics. Mr. Hall said he questions whether Canadians have enough protection when up against parliamentary privilege. He said the contempt proceeding against Ms. George would have been fairer if it was transferred to another parliamentary committee for a second independent look at the case. I don't think you need to have any more spending of my money you shitbags. No, a liar is a liar is a liar. Turfed, blackballed. There you go. On the resume, they're a liar. After they get out of jail. After they pay me back all of my money. Parliament is Canada's highest court, and unlike other courts, Ms. George has no recourse or avenue for appeal. Parliament can also incarcerate, but it imposed no sanctions against her. How much dirt do you think Ms. George has on everybody? Or her family members? Or her ceaseless husband? You see how it works? Blackmail, 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 mental. All the way down to the smallest witnesses to what happened in Nova Scotia. We will tell you that you're crazy. We will put you in the crazy home, literally, by gaslighting you. We will call child protection services on you because you're not a very stable mom. I know what's going on. Parliament is Canada's highest courts, blah, blah, blah. But no problem. No problem. Zero. Griffin, zero. No sanctions, zero. Nobody gets anything. 17 recommendations, zero. There's just a lot of zeros. They're bankrupt with all these zeros. Morally bankrupt. Morally in debt. Shitbags. Ned Franks, a parliamentary expert and professor emeritus at Queen's University, said he suspects MPs would have preferred the matter to have quietly died without taking any action. The committee's report sat weeks with no action taken. Like 3 years. But they could figure it out in a few days. The RCMP, 3 years. How long do you think it's going to be? How long do you think it's going to be for the inquiry with the fucking fraud that it is? Trials. How long do you think it's going to be? How about that overdue CERT investigation? Do you know that they have 3 months to supply a report? 3 months. Go to CERT's website. The shit. Go and see if they have filed that report about what happened at Onslow. A zero. Do you know why? Oh, that's right. Because they're RCMP. Very independent, right? Oh, we'll have, it says other shitbag, furry. We'll have that for you. No problem. We'll get it to you. This is going to go away. We'll wait it out. People have to start doing stuff. Keep the pressure on. Please. I've had some really great ideas come floated to me. 23 roses. How about 23 roses every week to Bible Hill and inform the media? Take it down there. Deliver them. 23 roses every week. Not a lot of money. A lot of balls. Not a lot of money. How about blood drives on the 18th and 19th? That's a good one. How about celebrating everybody's birthday? Lots of great ideas. No autopsy. That's a zero. That's a zero, right? Family members told, I think 3 months, maybe they said, or 6 months. Is he the 6 month one? That'll be a zero too. All of them zeros. Never. We can have a fund. We can chip in a little bit of money here and there, buy roses, deliver them down, take them down. A group of people. Doesn't have to be family members, because they're sadly getting re-traumatized all the time, not by us, but by them. Even though they try and hide behind that, which is disgusting. No, we can't talk about things because that might traumatize families. We can't tell the truth because that might traumatize families. Excuse me? Sounds about as wise and smart as the CSIS RCMP husband of George. Derp. I think they go to the same derp school. Derp. Well, I don't know anything about. It's just an idea. There's things, right? I mean, it's the idea of helping out. Maybe some kind of volunteer thing. You know? Lots of volunteering is great. If it's not for a shitty organization that is a charity that's guised, really a business guised as a charity. It's, upper boards are all flying around doing all kinds of trash, going on the golf trips. We need to stay in a hotel. Food drives. I don't know. Violin lessons. Lots of little things. Donate. Psychological trauma. No action. Nobody gets charged. Nothing happens. Move along. Thank you. We'll continue lying. He said MPs drove home their point by finding she misled them, and would probably have been glad to let it end there. In fact, MPs specifically said they wanted no further punishment because the citation in itself was a very serious sanction. So serious, she went back to work as an assistant to Zach Raldi. How serious is that again? She's still getting paid. She did leave eventually, but you see, because the blackmail information on them was going to start to come out from CSIS and RCMP. Because, that gun ban, that was what they were really after. Or would it have been Project Wide Awake 2.0? Farming data on all of us. We all have to come to terms with our skeletons, because we all have them. I certainly have lots. You know what? If it comes out, so what? Who cares? You improve your life. You do better things. We all make mistakes. And being a man and saying, listen, I'm sorry. I fucked up. Maybe I fucked up a lot. In my case, I fucked up lots. Do you forgive me? Most people would say yes, because they know in their heart, sure, I do that too. You have to come to peace with this stuff inside you. Otherwise, they will beat you with it. And we have to be morally as good a people as we can. And then we don't give them the weapons. But many said the committee had no choice but to proceed. That's the choice. No choice is you. Despite a highly fractious parliament that has left many committees dysfunctional, MPs on the public accounts unanimously agreed Deputy Commissioner George misled them. That's another code word for lied profusely. Took them 3 minutes to figure that out. They also felt the matter had to be dealt with because of her position as a high-ranking Mountie. Don't worry, you're not really getting thrown under the bus. It's just a lateral move. I'm not in any position to say who is right or wrong here, but you have a committee that was unanimous. That would probably took some balls, but it was probably more show than anything. In its decision, which in my mind is astonishing. Is it astonishing? Because nothing happened. Except a lot of money, more money got wasted. Said Mr. Franks. Parliament has spoken loud and clear on what's to be expected. NDP MP David Christensen. You are obligated to tell the truth, and if you outright mislead the committee, there will be consequences. There are consequences. What is the consequence? Was that the strong sanction? A very serious sanction. Right? Because there wasn't any jail time. You can lie to Parliament. Just like the handbook says. No problem. Do it. I think marches. Lots of marches. Not feminist marches. Just regular folk marches. Going to Bible Hill. Every 18 and 19. Hanging out there. Having a barbecue, doing whatever. Pretty good. Now, let's see what happened to Mike Frizzell. Ex-RCMP officer who investigated pension fund scandal sues government over the discharge from the force. Go away. I don't want your cookies, but I'm not clicking OK because I just don't want it. That's a click roll agreement. No. Mike Frizzell, who was RCMP staff sergeant assisting with the pension fund investigation in 2005, which of course didn't get concluded till 2007, 2008, right? Which take 3 cases to do, or 3 weeks to do, I believe, 2-3 weeks for an independent person, because the RCMP are so very good at investigating. They're awesome. They do such a thorough job. You remember how they say that? We need to do a thorough investigation here. So it's going to take a long time. So go away now. No. Other people can do thorough investigations with the facts if we get them. But the problem is you don't give them. You give a lot of disinformation. You lie. You have fucking plants in Facebergs. You have plants even in our Discord. Yeah. Still, we fucking are miles ahead. Filed a statement of claim seeking $2.8 million of your dollars because he was traumatized. We paid him. They traumatized him, fucked him over, and now he's suing. And frankly, I'm happy about it. Like every other lawsuit, we're getting sued all over himself, all over the place. Billions, millions. This organization, zero. What does it do? White shirts? Oh, they go golfing. They rip each other off. Nice. You're not in the clique at the top, the white shirt. Oh, somebody would be getting a white shirt. I have a little bird saying, somebody in this story, one's coming. Mike Frizzell appears in Public Accounts Committee regarding Chapter 9, Pension Insurance Administration. A lot of, hot air. Fraud. RCMP Police of November 2006, Auditor General, he launched a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the RCMP. Actually, I'd like to write a letter just saying pay them. Pay him the 2.8 million. Let's not fight this in court, because actually that's my money, my lawyers, my court, my judge, my paper that's being filed on. No, actually, just pay him the 2.8 million. You have no problem paying certain other people. Pay this man. He served and he did the right thing. And I like rewarding good behavior, not shitty behavior with lateral moves and private contract jobs and setting up security companies and going and working for CSIS and blah, 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 blah. More than 10 years ago, a pension fund scandal rocked the RCMP. Oh, they were so rocked, weren't they? Haven't we learned that yet? So rocked. Prompting high-level resignations and an overhaul of the police force's governance. And now a central figure. And really? Did they do an overhaul? No. Now a central figure in the scandals investigation is suing the government, suing us. Our employee suing us. Pretty nice. And our employees will fight him. Do you see how messy this all is? It's just like absolute mess. Our employee sues us, but we fight our own employee, and he does the right thing because we should have a shitty system, and the really bad people, well, our employees, really bad employees, that's okay. We reward them, and the cycle just continues. And the fear amongst these poor members. Gosh. We know this about you. We can bring that out. Your husband knows that about you. Now a central figure in the scandals investigation is suing the government, alleging he suffered mental illness due to his treatment by senior officers and claiming pressure he was into signing a medical discharge. Sorry, hold on a second here. Whoa. I thought you gave him a reward. I thought you awarded him the highest commendation for being such a good man, right? Didn't you? Let's see, did you? Oh, that's strange. We reward them, then we say they're crazy, then we fire them. Do you know what kind of pensions they get then? You know what kind of pensions they get? Lots of them get screwed. No pension. You have literally moms in this country supporting grown men. Truthfully. Because you also get blackballed. Funny. Could it have anything to do with information they know about people? Maybe. Possibly. Mike FRIZZELL, who was an RCMP staff sergeant assisting the pension investigation in 2005, filed a statement of claim in the Ontario Supreme Court in August 21st. He is seeking $2.8 million in damages. This is 2017. Okay, so we're fast forwarding here. Why do I have all this junk? What is this? I don't want this. How do you get rid of this? Now it's done something. The lawsuit outlines how FRIZZELL spent 7 years on medical leave Okay? So you're paying all that too. But frankly, he needs it, but they don't, of course, get the support. We've been through that one. They don't give them any psychological services. They just keep pushing them to resign. Get out of here. You're crazy. Push, 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 push. Because you can't really fire somebody. But I'm thank goodness for that, because they would be firing everybody except their friends and their family members. Yeah. FRIZZELL, who joined the force in 1990, medical leave in the RCMP before signing a discharge. So they finally drove him out in 2015 after 7 years, after giving him the reward for being such a good guy. How great is that commissioner then? Because I thought they were cleaning it up. I thought they were going to make massive changes. That's probably why the word private is in here. Private. Optics. FRIZZELL, who joined the force in 1990, now works as a manager of an Ottawa-based firm that sells heavy drilling equipment. We trained this guy. He probably he has very good training. Some of them do, some of them don't. He probably has really good training. And he's a manager selling drilling equipment. I think that's probably a step down. RCMP was besieged in the mid-2000s by revelations of its pension funds were being misappropriated. We just lost that intelligence report. Sorry about that. Oh, sorry, that hard drive got deleted. Oh, sorry, that tape that was recording the Dunphy case. Sorry, we lost that tape. Right? Oh yeah. Oh, and we didn't take any notes there too. Sorry about that. Oh, and the backups are deleted also. Yeah, sorry about that. Don't worry, we're doing a very thorough investigation. The shredder? I should get my shredder fired up again. Like it's just going crazy. Let's go on a golfing trip though. Let's go golfing and just call those people crazy. And be sure to go after those witnesses because they're crazy. And the family members, why don't we go after them too? Yeah, that's good. Funds were with millions of dollars being spent on non-pension items. We pay the pension. It's their pension. The good guys' pension, but they steal it. The bad guys steal it. The story escalated when FRIZZELL's superiors ordered him to cease the investigation into the matter. Fraser McCauley and Mike Fraser wait at the beginning of the public accounts. Committee, more wasting of money, trying to cover up them stealing, the criminal operations, the criminal gang. Regarding the RCMP pension fund scandal on Parliament Hill, 2007, then Deputy RCMP Commissioner Barbara George was brought before the Parliamentary Committee to explain her actions in regard to FRIZZELL. The committee concluded that her testimony was dishonest. No, she's a fucking liar. How about we just call it that? Use the profanity. How about that? It kind of drives the point home. Don't use this word salad language. I don't like it. You're just a fucking liar to me. And the House of Commons later voted to censure her, an unprecedented rebuke of a senior RCMP officer. George retired from the RCMP in 2008, but has a long said the committee treated her unfairly, and that some Liberal MPs have since said how they regret the vote took place. In his lawsuit, Frizzell says the written order he received in 2005 to stop the investigation. Written order. You know, like the recordings, the written orders coming from who? Oh, that's right. That's right. Could it have been what was her name? George. Scumbag George. What was her name? Shit George. CSIS husband. CSIS RCMP husband. All garbage. How many family members do you think she has in the RCMP? Suicides rates are high out the RCMP. That's true. Nothing. I can tell you, Maya. Nothing like the RCMP. Nothing. Seriously. Dig. You'll find it. Even though they don't like to publicize it. It's all over the place. When you do the numbers in per capita, very high. He received in 2005 to stop this investigation. Came at the same time rumors were circulating that he was suffering from mental illness. Isn't that strange? All these people suffer from mental illness whenever they do the right thing. I think evil doesn't like goodness. It likes to call it mentally ill. The lawsuit alleges these two things had the effect, quote, the effect of creating the impression that Frizzell had been insubordinate or that he had been removed from the investigation because of his mental health. Well, frankly, I would like to say, how about this? We call all the white shirt garbage at the top mentally ill, and you're out. And no hearings, no anything. You're just gone. And pay me, please, because I want my money back. That $600,000 house, give it to me. We can set some homeless people up in it. Probably need it. You're mentally ill. Evil is mentally ill. The RCMP did not respond to requests to the comment for the lawsuit. Oh, really? Really, not even a paper response? Oh, yes, and no statement of defense has been filed. None of the allegations have been proven in court. No comment. Not even a piece of paper this time. You know, like leather. Leather? I love leather. The optics weren't very good with leather. You had Campbell. Oh yeah, cut and clip that. Oh my God, Seamus is mentally ill. Go fuck yourself, man. The suit goes on to outline public comments made by other senior officers, including George, over how Frizzell had conducted his investigation, including claims that he had to leave the investigation for health reasons and that his aggressive interviewing style caused witnesses to become distraught. Do you know why he was aggressive? Because they were telling him to shut it down. And he's like, no, I don't want to. I want to do the right thing. You are supremely fucking my bosses over here. And I like doing good things for people. That's why I joined this force. So it's kind of making me a little bit angry. It's stressing me out. Kind of like me. Kind of like you. Kind of like most Canadians. The ones that are aware. An independent report into the pension scandal by David Brown, a former chairman of the Ontario Securities Commission, let's not go there, had concluded Frizzell's investigative work was legitimate, regardless of complaints about his behavior. Quote, even if Sergeant Frizzell style runs into somewhat aggressive in some contexts. Oh, there's that word. It seems to me that the allegations of harassment on his part were manufactured in this case in order to discredit him, Brown wrote in his report, which he lauded. Highest honor in closed ceremony. You know, people are saying these people are really good, but just, zero. Lauded Frizzell's work and advised the RCMP to publicly commend Frizzell for his service. Now we understand why he got the reward. Why the 5 of them got the reward before getting drummed out on mental illness. That position is no longer in effect anymore. Nice. Fake optics. The car sitting there. I like Mr. Moneypennies. I love Mr. Moneypennies. I really have to use that. I'm going to see if I can superimpose it on Campbell's press conferences. Amazing. The cat. The blurry cat. You can't really tell. It's kind of a cat. At 10:32, you know that it's a cat, don't you? It's definitely a Russian blue for sure, and it's male. Oh, yeah. But Frizzell claims the RCMP then refused to properly follow up on how he was treated by his superiors during that period. Funny that. Don't worry, he's mentally ill because he's actually righteous. He actually lives by a code of conduct. He actually lives by a moral compass. But he's mentally ill. Including their public testimony about him. Quote, all of this took a severe toll on Frizzell's professional reputation and credibility, as well as his psychological well-being. Put yourself into Mr. Frizzell's shoes. Put yourself into any of these RCMP shoes. Put yourself into the shoes of any of the RCMP down in Nova Scotia or across this country. Then it becomes abundantly clear. Save the garbage. Would you not be afraid? One thing I've never understood in this lifetime is pusses, though. I really haven't. Don't be a puss. You fight back. Mr. Frizzell fought back. Lots of good people fight back. Then they end up really seriously getting driven mentally ill. They were fine to begin with. I am by no means the only member who is being pushed out, rather than the RCMP dealing with bullying, harassment, dysfunction in its senior ranks. How about in all of its ranks? Right? Don Matheson speaks a lot about this. There are some people, RCMP officers, who are really vocal and really fight. Lots of them. And it's super awesome. One day when Mr. Matheson has some free time, because I know that he's quite busy working on something apparently, so I'm not going to disturb him. That's not really my nature anyway. I would love to have a chat with him. The amount of shit that I have learned in the last while is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And we're paying this to destroy people. This is pretty fantastic. FRIZZELL went out on sick leave June 2008. Do you see how quick it happened? You can't come back to work. You just got that award. You're a superstar. Oh, but you're actually crazy. In 2010, he filed a sweeping $26 million lawsuit against us that also named George, who we paid for, former RCMP commissioners Giuliano Zaccarelli, who we paid for, and William Elliott, who we paid for, and former Ottawa Police Chief Vince Bevan. Now, this is a new name. I don't think I know Vince. The Ottawa Police had been the lead agency in the pensions investigation. According to FRIZZELL, that lawsuit was eventually stayed by a judge who instructed him to first pursue compensation through the Veteran Affairs Disability Pension. This is like this person I have in my own life who is being told that sexual harassment, sexual raping, 7 years worth, raping by her boss is workers' compensation. I'm like, excuse me? Tell me who told you that. Oh, well, the MLAs did. I'm like, yeah. Tell me where they live. We'll have a little talk about that. You fucking dirtbag. Go spend more of our money at the Veteran Affairs. You got to file just sexual assault, not rape. I'm sorry. I have to call it what it is. I'm not going to fucking hide behind, whatever. Everybody wants to do their own thing. To me, and I know the details of it, is absolutely graphic and unbelievably horrible. And this person had to literally turn out of their entire life. Same kind of deal. Didn't know their kids, didn't know nothing. Which way was up? Sad. Very sad. But they're getting there. And it's fantastic. Yeah, but this is this misnomer of words, Maya. I don't want to get off on it too much, but it's that word salad again, because it's such a blanket term. That's why they brought it in. So that, it doesn't sound terrible, and it can encompass anything pretty much, right? And I'm not diminishing sexual assault by any stretch, but there's, grabbing somebody's bum, and then there's prolonged, very horrible acts. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, I digress. Which the RCMP members are eligible to receive. Our employees are eligible to receive our money from the Veterans Affairs, which is really because they should be getting the pension, which is our money, but they're getting ripped off by the golfing, by the gang that runs this shit show. A new lawsuit says that in 2013, with FRIZZELL still on sick leave, the RCMP sought to have him removed from the organization through a medical discharge. Do you know how much money we spent on that? So that you can obfuscate from telling the truth. This is how far they will go. Blueberry Field, far we will go. Shredders, how far we will go. Backup drives, how far will we go? Surveillance pictures, how far will we go? When you have something bad in your back pocket. You will do anything to hide it. Those people, not you, and certainly not me. Says that in July 2014, FRIZZELL was served with a notice that RCMP would be pursuing charges against him for engaging in secondary employment. He said he provided the RCMP with a written reply, quote, refuting the grounds for the medical discharge. So he's trying to support himself, and we want to charge him, which is us, also. This is fucked, man. FRIZZELL finally signed the discharge in 2015, May, 7 years later. But the lawsuit claims it took place because of the undue pressure over him on the potential code of conduct investigation. Where was this investigation when you lie in front of Parliament or to the people? To all the families down there. Oh, where's that code of conduct investigation? Where's the shit investigation? Where is the true inquiry that's handpicked by the family members, that actually has a mandate that's demanded by, and they get exactly what they want because it's their justice they seek. So they get to call the show and not anybody else. A zero. And not me, no government, and no RCMP. They run the show. 23 families. Well, sorry, it's actually a little less, but you know, and this does take its toll. I spoke to Tara the other day, and you know, the grieving process is a funny one, isn't it? We all know that. It's a bit harder now. But she's still doing well. She's strong. And she got lots of good people behind her. I told her. You'll never lose anybody. The lawsuit also claims the RCMP violated his charter, our charter. We violated ourselves. Right to equal treatment because, quote, it created a poisoned workplace. We created a poisoned workplace and failed to accommodate it for FRIZZELL's psychological disabilities, which we gave him. We gave him that. And we cannot obfuscate and say, it's you who did it. You baddies. We put them there. We pay them. So we have to say, you're fired. Right? Is it not our responsibility? Or is it more of this blame game that we will continue and everybody else will take care of us as they fuck us constantly and laugh? Quote, I did my duty and impartially investigated the RCMP. Investigate ourselves. But there were a few very powerful people within the RCMP who found that to be very inconvenient. Good night, Maya. Take care. Thank you very much, Maya. Doing super hard work. Just so that you all know, there is a sisters server. Sisters of the server, I think is the name they maybe have settled on now. Awesome. Probably infiltrated, but women working great stuff and going to destroy the narrative. that femicide bullshit that the RCMP has spun up as one of their chess moves. Oh yeah, we'll just call it that. You know, everybody will believe it. So thank you very much to Maya, and thank you very much, obviously, to everybody who participates. I really want to say a special thank you to her for doing yeoman service. So many people doing so much great work. And they countered my commitment to the organization with manipulation and false accusations of harassment and fabrication of evidence and destruction of evidence and obstruction of justice and perjury. How many charges could you get on this, people? You sit me down for half an hour. I'll have a pretty long laundry list. Lawyer gobbledygook. Frizzell said in a statement to the National Post. You know, and he has to sit there probably because he knows if he picks up the phone and talks to somebody, he's going to lose his shit. Right? Wouldn't you? So he carefully writes it out, politely. And does this man still live in a place of fear? I have no doubt he does. To some extent. They continue to make his life hell. We do. What the fuck, man? Real proud of the sisters. Awesome. I'm real proud. I'm real proud of all of you. Awesome. Quote, I am by no means the only member who is being pushed out, rather than the RCMP dealing with bullying, harassment, and dysfunction in its senior ranks, but perhaps mine is the most outrageous and can best serve to drive some change. Frankly, there are so many. His isn't the best, sadly. His may be more publicly known than some others, but there's tons. So much, like I said, I had a phone call with somebody who was brave enough to step forward, and that phone call was 5.5 hours of names. And I was like, what? Okay, this is a problem. This is a very big problem. All the suicides, all of the harassment, all of the bullying, all of the lying, all of the deceit, all of the fraud, all of the criminal behavior, all of the obstruction, all of the constant manipulation, all of the fabrication of mental illness on people, the creation of it, in many cases, real mental illness, true mental illness, because you take a normal person and you screw them so bad, they start to break. Everybody has a point. This is why this happens. This is why Nova Scotia happens. The secrecy, the dishonesty. You stop that. We stop that. Because they are us. And frankly, I don't like bad things in me anymore. No more. I'm done. I've been done for a long time. Let's move on to good things. I like people happy. I don't like lives wrecked and destroyed. No more. This is something your friends, very important to start getting more people involved. The bigger this movement gets, and I swear to you, on everything I hold dear, everything I hold dear. You can change this. All of it. This one will break it. But you have to push. And you have to work. And yeah, there's going to be lots of stress, as you all well know. But you get the other people involved. Because it lightens your burden. Nobody needs to carry heavy loads. They're there to help you too, because they're there. They want to help you. They don't want to live in this either, but they're afraid. Just like my mom. Very afraid. Not something I would admit, because she doesn't strike people as somebody who is afraid. But deep down, sure, this system has her in a position where she feels powerless, hopeless. What can I do? You know that line? That line? Line? What can I do? I am only one person. And I'm like, well, it isn't electing a different government. That certainly doesn't work. It isn't waiting, let's say just this one, right? It's not waiting on the RCMP for that zero to come. And those poor families, I know because I have been told. I haven't lived through it. Thank God. But I'm empathetic to understand. Sit there and listen to somebody else's pain and understand their story. To somebody who's gone through this with the RCMP before. And they say, listen, you have to understand, and there's a lot of understanding. There's so much learning. It's not like I just come in here and I'm like, oh, I know everything, because I don't know shit, probably. And I like to learn that one needs to hold on to something. And the RCMP are the only thing that gives many of these people something to hold on to. Because if they lose that, what do they have left? But you know what they do have? They have us. They have us. I'm so proud of all of you. It just keeps growing and getting bigger. But we have to keep it alive. We cannot be in this, because they love that. But they get you in the echo chamber, and there's very few of you, and they slowly whittle it down. Start bombing you with other stories and all kinds of other stuff. Start bombing you with all kinds of other stuff. Right? Day-to-day life. The wretched life that they give us. And they say, oh, eventually you'll cave. I'll cave. Unless we keep it alive. Keeping it alive is vital. It is incumbent upon us as individuals to spread this amongst our circles. Our friends, our family, our social media BS. And say, how would you feel? I think you need to look. Then we get numbers. And numbers provide people who right now feel weak to have power and courage. Because they know, listen, I'm not going to get screwed here, because there's going to be a lot of people here. They're always the one guy who's waiting on somebody. Well, you do it. Just keep showing them. Keep telling them. Keep spreading it. We can do it. We don't need to go off into all kinds of places. We can stay with one issue, and it will do a lot of damage. Much bigger than just the RCMP. Lots of it. Because it's a house of cards. Weakest link. Look at them. They run. They're afraid. They're cowards. They're busses. Busses. Busses don't last long. They get run over. Thank you, Chai. I appreciate that. I respect that. I have the most reverence for somebody who, because it takes balls. You know? I know, Chai. I'm not meaning literal. Figurative. Balls. Because the system is very stacked against us. They have many aces in the hole. Freaky ones that will come. But it's okay. Because we have truth. We have numbers. And we'll just grow. Let's start organizing these events. A lot of organization this requires. Keep it alive. Just killing time. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to bring you a few more stories like this because there's lots. I've got, I'm just going to have a rough boo. I don't even have time to read through a lot of this stuff. I don't. I wish I did. I don't have time to read through the Discord. There's just not enough hours in the day. Yeah, there's lots more stories here. Lots more. And plus, so that's understanding the RCMP and getting their support and letting them know we love them, we care about them. We do. We do. Just because you say you love somebody doesn't make you a puss. Oh, you gotta be a man. Fuck you, man. I'll show you, man. Lots more stories so we can get them supported because they equally, like, it may seem twisted, but like the families, lots of them are traumatized too. And they need help. So we help them. Not a bad thing. They'll feel stronger and they'll be able to rise to the occasion because they don't want to live in that anymore. You wouldn't want to live in that. The fear. What was the interview we did with Josh? And he said, I'm afraid. Sometimes I'm afraid of the people I go to the shooting range with, of my officers, my fellow officers. I'd rather go with somebody else. I never know. What the fuck, man? That's scary to think that. Yeah, maybe one day. I'm excited to buy the shirt. Tara bought it for me. I definitely do not accept things free. So, but the shirt for Aaron and Jolene and Emily, that would be awesome. They can wear it, and maybe one of these days can get down there. That would be really great. I've talked to some really super people. Just really good. Get around, see the sights and learn things and just meet people and talk with people. Good things. Anyways. It's connected. There are connections. I saw something. I'm not going to talk about what it was. I would say that person went very far into extraordinarily speculative relationship territory. Just because I've done videos on that a few years ago. Quite in depth. Mr. Gistra does not like me. Certain individuals do not like me. Anyway, I do hope that you all have a fantastic evening. You are having a super weekend, Friday, and you take good care of yourselves. Remember, you got to eat and sleep and do all that stuff because, again, sadly, somebody was saying they don't not get a lot of sleep. I'm like, feel like a mom. You got to go get some sleep. But anyway, do take good care of yourselves. Be good to those around you. God bless.